Cool transition, huh? Did you like it?
I liked it. I think you really got a winner there.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Nerd Attempts to Save the World, Episode 5. Transition, huh?
Audio.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Nerd Attempts to Save the World. Okay, so we don't have an echo now. Live TV, everyone. Live TV. Anyone who is watching this right now, understand I'm still learning the technical difficulty aspects of it. I'm going to turn this
phone down, too. We got this!
Oh,
I'm his IT guy. I'm here getting this set up.
Yeah. Not again. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Nerd Attempts to Save the World. There is no more echo. We are good to go. Episode 5. Nathan Grant is joining me.
Hello.
One of my great friends. He's I've known him for close to 3 years now.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a history now at this point.
We have a history. We've worked on a couple projects together.
We robbed a few banks together, you know.
We did.
Oh, no, it's live.
HSBC, it wasn't us.
Yeah.
I can never step foot in there again.
I know.
Anyways, welcome to Nerd Attempts to Save the World. For those of you who are not watching the SU Duke game and you're watching me, thank you very much. Watching him, thank you very much.
Yeah.
But if you're watching that, that's okay. This will be on YouTube later on. Yep. You can catch us there.
Hello from the future.
Hello. Hello. Put some pants on.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I wanted to start off with a little funny anecdotal story, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to use big words that don't really have any meaning. So, back around Christmas time, I have a group of friends, and we had decided to do a gift exchange. At that gift exchange, one of my friends decided to give all of us Toblerone candy bars.
Ooh.
Yeah, have you ever had those?
Yeah.
Okay. I never had at that point.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I had never had a Toblerone candy bar, so I ate the first one, and within about 6 hours, I had eaten the second one he had given to me for Christmas, fell in love with them, and we had a bunch of posts about it. I had sent memes talking about how much I love this new candy bar in my life, and I'm not a big candy bar eater, so if it was
one you liked, then it was a big deal, huh?
it was a big deal. And everyone knew about, like, the Toblerone. So, fast forward, I had a birthday/graduation party. For those of you who don't know...
I was there.
Yeah, you were there. He was invited. We had a great time. I graduated. I was a college student. Still am a college student. Gonna keep going. But I did get a graduation. So we celebrated that with my birthday. And the same guy who gave me Toblerone at the Christmas exchange gave me 7 Toblerone candy bars.
Well,
I love them. Do you know how long it takes to build up a tolerance to having a candy bar almost every single night?
Yeah, you gotta get used to that, especially if you're not a candy bar
I'm
guy.
not a candy bar eater, but I loved them. So I finished the last Toblerone candy bar.
Ah, jeez.
It was sad.
That's a sad day. Oh, there it is.
Wait a minute. Wrapper.
Wait a minute. Weren't you supposed to give me a candy bar when I got here today? I thought that was the...
I don't know. No.
I don't know. We're starting this off on the wrong foot, I think.
Nate, he ate me. He ate me and did not leave me for you.
Sure, rub it in.
Toblerone, Swiss for Table of One, because you're not sharing this.
This episode is sponsored by Toblerone.
All right, let's get into
the meat.
The meat.
Yeah, the meat and potatoes.
What we're going to talk about tonight. So, Nate, first thing we want to talk about is something that you are an expert in.
Maybe.
No, you are. You are absolutely right. As much as I have a Legend of Zelda collection that we talk about almost every single episode, Nate has a collection of a different kind. So, expound. Tell me everything. Tell me all about it.
I had a big collection of all sorts of games and systems, but I started to pare it down, and I decided to focus my collecting into one system, and that is the original PlayStation. And so right now, I am currently going for a full PlayStation set. Now, what's good about collecting for the PlayStation is that there are the expensive games on there like you find on most consoles, but the proportion of really expensive games is a lot lower compared to the common titles than like if you went for an NES set, less games for the console, but even the commons are getting expensive nowadays. It's like, a common is like $15 to $20 game a lot of times.
It's ridiculous.
So it's like, I remember just a few years ago, like the prices were so different now. And with PlayStation, they're definitely on the rise. I will admit that. But I've been very lucky in two areas. I had a lot of PlayStation games just since I was in high school that I kept, and so I had a good base to start with. So when I decided on focusing on the collecting, I had a pretty good start. And then I also had a couple of the heavy hitters out of the way. And shortly after I decided to go for the collection, I got the heavy hitters out of the way, or a couple more out of the way faster. So there's still a few, but it's not the level of like, if I was going for like an NES and it's like, think of how many $200 plus games there are. Some are $1,000 plus. There's not really, there's a few expensive games. There's one, yeah. There's one that I know of that is a long box. If you remember PlayStation 1, there was the original ones were a long box, kind of like Sega Saturn. Then they went to the smaller jewel case. And even the long box have variations of like, there's a jewel long box, there's a plastic one, there's one that's cardboard. So there was variations of those. There's a long box version of this game called Space Hulk that is I think it might even been like a display only thing that some sort of sold.
Yeah.
So it's like over $1,000. I already have the game in its dual disc jewel case thing, so that was cheap. But I still want to get all the variants at some point, so that's like a heavy hitter I'll have to get.
Now, is Space Hulk the one that had like the case with like the gun and everything?
No. So that is another one that I'll talk about. So there's it's a fantastic game in its own right. It's called Elemental Gearbolt, and it's kind of like a light gun shooter, like Time Crisis or one of those, but it's got like RPG elements and leveling up, and it's got a really unique art style, very anime and like, I don't know, fantasy based. Really great game. And there was I think it was an E3 promotional version that's called the Assassin's Case, and it comes in what looks like a Halliburton gun case with like gold Namco gun con, and that is like $10,000 plus. So it's really, or actually I think it's like between $7,000 and $10,000. I think I've seen some between $7,000 and $8,000. So that, but you think about it, like stadium events was like for a while. I don't know how much it is now, but it was like a $7,000-$8,000 game.
I think it's up to like 11 grand.
It's probably more now, but it was like I know like last year there was like $8,000 or something like that, and I was like, that is like the stadium events. But I have the base game, so for my collection, I'm making sure I have one of each title, and then if I can get the variants and the more expensive versions, I'd love to at some point. Those are like the holy grails. But right now I'm just trying to go for the full set, North American set, and I know a couple people who've already completed it, but so that's like motivation, like, okay, it can be done. But I am a little worried to see where prices are going to go from here, because they are going up everywhere.
Video game collecting is going through the roof right now. When I was working in the store, I was privileged and blessed that I had a really great collector base that would want to recycle their collection, go for a different collection. So I got to see a lot of the rare games. But the funny part is, probably the most rare PS1 game that I ever had for a time, I got for free.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. So back in the day, when I started my business, I had started by just basically going around and buying things here or there, and there were people that are saying, hey, I just want this junk out of my garage, do you want to take it? And a lot of times it was old computer parts, which, more often than not, I would be making a recycle trip, but, it would be worth the recycle trip because there would be pieces in there that people highly sought after, pieces that are $80 to $100. So pay the recycle fee, make some money on the side, and I got it out of their garage because I couldn't throw it in the trash. Well, this one guy called me and he said, I got a bunch of old computer games. I want you to just come take them. I said, okay, I'm going to take the computer games because there might be some in there. Well, lo and behold, I'm going through these computer games. Half of them were PS1 games. And so you had your medium hitters, like you had your Spyro, you had your Crash Bandicoot, you had Mega Man Legends, which that's, $15 to $30 games, which, they're middle of the road. But then I came across this game. I said, this kind of looks like Mega Man, but I've never seen this girl before.
Yeah.
And it was Misadventures of Tron. And when I looked it up, I said, oh, this has got to be a joke. This is not how much it's worth. And I priced it at, I think, half of what the value was at the time. It was gone. It was gone in 5 minutes. Yeah. And I shipped it out, and the guy was extremely happy, talked about how wonderful I was. Well, he thought I was wonderful because I sold it for half price. But I got it for free, so it was a win-win situation all around. The guy didn't have the stuff in his garage anymore. I made some money, and so yeah. So that's like my little PlayStation 1.
So yeah, that like I have a lot of nostalgia for the platform, probably because, like I said, I was in high school, so I have a lot of pre-nostalgia for like the older consoles, like a lot of people do. But there's something about that's like your formative years, like becoming a teenager and then an adult. So I feel like, and I also think games were changing from. That was the one thing about the PlayStation brand that kind of separates it from Nintendo is it was when games started being revered as more of an acceptable hobby, which is dumb because you should like what you like. But you know how certain things that were super geeky are now like mainstream. That was kind of like with games. Yeah, everybody kind of liked and played games, but they kind of accepted, like, especially because of the games of the era, it was like, yeah, it's still kind of a younger skewed thing. But with PlayStation is when you saw the brands become a little more like marketing to adults, like the marketing changed, and you saw like more adults playing games, and now those kids are adults now, and they're the ones that are fueling all this retro industry. You know what I mean? So, absolutely. So I have the nostalgia for it, but I think the PlayStation brand it's like unique from Nintendo or Sega or something like that, because at least nowadays, I feel like when you talk PlayStation, you don't really... It doesn't have as much of an iconic... Like, you know how, like, Mario and the Nintendo... And Zelda, the Nintendo cast of characters are so, like, that's Nintendo. And the gameplay philosophies is Nintendo. With PlayStation, I feel like PlayStation nowadays, like PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3 last gen, isn't that far different from the Xbox. They have their exclusives, like Uncharted and stuff like that. But it's not as iconic of their type of thing. But with PS1, I feel like that was when they right out of the gate came out as an industry contender. They kind of had their more iconic franchises, which with Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, and like Metal Gear Solid repopularized the Metal Gear brand that was on Nintendo, but it really was Metal Gear Solid that kind of
Metal Gear Solid really catapulted.
And RPGs were popular, before then, but Final Fantasy VII, love it or hate it, that game changed RPGs, JRPGs especially in North America. So
and Final Fantasy VII came out on the PC, and it came out on the PS1, and
it just changed everything.
Just blew up, just changed everything.
So yeah, that's a little bit of my my history.
But the funny thing is about PlayStation is PlayStation was created because Nintendo messed up.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I love. See, now my ultimate collecting piece with PlayStation collecting would be to get. Even if it was a repro of the Nintendo PlayStation, I want that in my collection. It doesn't need to play. I just want it, they make repro consoles all the time, different mods and everything. I want a console mod that is a Nintendo PlayStation. Even if it's just a PS1 disc drive in one of those shells that somebody created themselves, I want one. Because that is one of the most fascinating things in the whole history of that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have a little bit of time. I'll talk a little bit about it, and I'll let you pick up and fill in.
And I'm not being rude looking down at my phone. I just thought I'd want to see the comments in case anybody.
Yeah, we have both our phones right here. So we are so high tech.
I just want to see what
we
you
have
guys
the comments right there, and it's like, hey, we got a lot of people talking. That's great. Mm-hmm. James, we are all nerds. Okay, though, just remember that we're all nerds. We're all happy to be talking about this stuff, but. Nintendo realized that the disc drive was going to be the future of video games. For a while now. I mean, now they're talking about going elsewhere. But for right now, disc drive is the future of video games. And they realized that cartridges were really expensive to make. They last a really long time, so the resellability was not there. So they said, okay, well, we're going to go and we're going to get CDs made, and they didn't go to Sony first. They went to Philips. They
went to Philips after.
Did they go to Sony first, or did they go Philips first?
I think it was Sony. The Sony deal, all that history fell through, and they went to Philips. And the bad relationship, we obviously know the history of those terrible games that Nintendo did with the Philips CDI. Yeah. That kind of is what shaped the N64. It was like, and that's what's so interesting. It's like this history of it being a partnership that went sour, tried to make another partnership, that made it even worse, and that changed Nintendo's direction, which I'm sure a lot of that they regret to this day. I have lots of fond memories of that era, but Nintendo changed.
Sony didn't have any licensing agreement with them, so Sony comes out with this great CD system, disc drive, and Nintendo just decided it wasn't for them, and kind of just abandoned it. The minute they abandon it, Sony goes, no, we have something. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's other people that are making other video games, so now they're not going to get the Mario or the Zeldas, but they're gonna create a whole new genre. And
exactly.
What ended up happening is Nintendo eventually ended up at the GameCube, but when they got to the GameCube, The problem they had was that it was a smaller disc. The graphics weren't as advanced as they should be for a disc drive that took that long to come out. Don't get me wrong, I'm a GameCube fan.
Oh, I love the GameCube.
I'm a fanboy, But what I was going to say is that the RPGs that you're finding that are over $100, some of these, Suikoden 2, Valkyrie Profile, I mean, the high-end, they're PS1s, and so those would have all been
on Nintendo
games on that platform.
In fact, you reminded me, and it's a plug for an article I read that's kind of related to this. So, Kotaku, I believe, or no, Polygon, one of those sites, I think it was Polygon, did an article for the 20th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII, and it's a very long, like, multiple-page essay about the history, and they interviewed all these people, the developers on both sides, and with Square Enix and all that, and the history of that title has so much of the history of Nintendo and PlayStation's history in it. And that article actually reveals a lot of things about what we're talking about. And I implore everybody to read that article. Yes. It was very well written, and it tells you the whole story and even some new things that just kind of came out. And it's so interesting. And one thing that's kind of cool is it even shows some screenshots from a Super Nintendo version of Final Fantasy VII. So it was a sprite-based Final Fantasy VII. And then, but then it really shows you how Nintendo's decisions back then gave PlayStation the opportunity to be like, well, all those RPGs you liked on Super Nintendo, you can get that type of gameplay on the PlayStation now. That's kind of what changed things. And I saw a comment from Brian Downey asking if I'd settle for a scale 1-to-1 model of the Nintendo PlayStation, and I would. But I think that if you're going to go that far, I might as well fill the guts with a working PlayStation 1. A little PS1 could fit in there, I think. So
just do a mini PS1, put it in the shell, you'll be good to go. All right, so we're gonna move on from there. I mean, we could talk PlayStation the whole time. I mean, I have very, very fond memories of PlayStation games that I ended up playing in high school at my girlfriend of the house time. I had Nintendo at my house, so I would go and play like my Ocarina of Time. I'd go to her place.
You play this.
I would play snowboarding. That's the game that she would want to play, and I'd beat her sisters at snowboarding, which caused arguments. I'm competitive. I'm competitive.
Can't deny it.
Just I'll leave it at that. All right. So, anyways, the next thing we're going to talk about, because the next one is probably going to be the most controversial or talked about one. We're going to talk about social media marketing. So for those of you who don't know, when I decided to start this podcast, I commissioned Nate, this guy right here, to make my logo, the Nerd Attempts to Save the World logo, the one that you see every time you start this podcast, the one that's all over my page, my Patreon, my Twitter, my Instagram. They're all that's one logo. I commissioned him because I said, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it right. And he's got a great history with social media marketing.
Thank you.
And he's done a fantastic job. I mean, for those of you who don't know, he's doing it for Retro Game Con. And if you look at what they're doing with their social media marketing, it's absolutely amazing. They do a fantastic job.
Yeah, the graphics for all that and everything you see, I've worked on all that. So that's why his eye must have been caught by my artwork. And then, next thing you know, see, is there any left in there for me? Or?
No, but you're my hero.
I'm the hero of the
That's the Toblerone voice from now on.
Yeah.
It sounds like the guy the hand from South Park. Chocolate flavored kisses for my meat.
So social media marketing. I mean,
okay, yeah. So basically, that's something that you do for a living. So I mean, what are some pointers you would give people who want to dive into social media marketing or get into social media? Like, what are some pointers you can give them, or some things to avoid?
I think what I would say is that social media, the thing about the platform of social media is it's a tool. You have to remember that. Like, social media is a tool. You can use it to share annoying cat memes or celebrity news or politics. That's your choice. But you can also, there's an unfollow button to not see the stuff of people you don't want to see. And the same kind of philosophy of just how you personally can enjoy or not enjoy social media, you got to think about it like that if you're marketing yourself or you're marketing a brand for yourself. With social media, the tools are all built in. That's one thing that's really interesting about, let's say, Facebook. They allow you to go live like we are right now and do you can do blogging now on Facebook with people you're friends with on there. The ad network on Facebook is amazing because even a person like myself, like when I was, really advertising my YouTube channel, it was so awesome because you're scrolling down your feed and it'll show you a sample ad and be like, this is what your ad could look like. So you click on that and just read what they offer to you, and you can spend a few bucks just to boost for like a range of 1,000 likes, 10,000 likes, whatever your goal is, and it tells you how much that would cost. And it works. Like, I did that with some videos I put online, and I got more views because more people were seeing them as ads in their feed. Or, how Facebook's algorithms are kind of annoying when you want people to see your stuff. It tells people what it thinks they want to see. And so you got to know, okay, if I spend a few bucks here, and you could spend like $5 to do an ad campaign, a small ad campaign, just to boost a post, and it will show up in people's profiles more. So they'll see that on their feed, and it's that kind of stuff you got to think about because it's a very new medium. It's not like advertising on TV or on radio or in an ad in the newspaper. It's very unique in that it gives you a lot of control over it and where you want to see it, the age group. You can pick the age group you want to advertise to. So if you want to advertise to an older age group, you could actually do that. If you have like a
denture cream
pinochle tournament or something or something like that, you can put that on there.
We have the Atari 2600.
Yeah. But it's like you could choose the audience for that. And that's so with social media marketing. Now I work in marketing. I work for an ad agency, and I use some of the social media sides of the marketing for my job. But I think anybody can take advantage of the tools that are out there for marketing yourself on social media. And YouTube is another great thing. YouTube is a great platform for putting yourself out there and using things like Patreon and stuff to get more people to help fund the things you're doing. People want to see your content. They'll be willing to pitch in a few bucks here and there, and that little bit can help to build your brand. Even if your brand is it's just yourself. Mm-hmm. You can still use the platform to do that. So
yeah. I'm gonna comment on that, but I have to respond to Rich. No, you're a tool.
the talking Toblerone.
Talking Toblerone. We'll see how long he lasts. I'm sure he's going to come back at some point. But anyways, the other thing I was going to say about the social media marketing, and me and I talked about this a little bit before the show, but social media marketing, like he says, is a tool. It's not everything. So I see a lot of people that want to start a podcast or want to get on Twitch or want to be recognized. And they might not be someone who normally would go into that field because maybe you are someone that shies away from the center of a party. Like you want to sit in the corner. Or you want a few friends over and you want to laugh and you want to have a good time. That's what's going to come across when you do a social media marketing podcast. If you're someone who shies away from the limelight, you're not going to be very comfortable in front of a camera like this. You're not going to be someone who feels compelled to entertain. I feel compelled to entertain. That's why I have a podcast. I feel Nate has that kind of compelled.
A creative spirit who wants to have an outlet. That's what helps for marketing yourself.
Exactly. So you have this wonderful tool that is still in its birth and it's blossoming. But you have to remember that there are age-old things that you have to be comfortable with depending on what kind of social media marketing you want to do. Now, if you're just trying to promote a product, you've created something, you don't need to have a public figure or face. But if you're going to do something like this, where you're going to be talking to people or you're going to be playing video games or you're talking while playing the video games, you got to be comfortable talking. I'm comfortable talking in front of thousands of people. I've had the privilege and honor of doing that a few times, and every single time, the more people I see watching or spectating or that are in front of me, and the lot bigger the speakers are to my side so people can hear me, the more animated I get, the more energy I get. It's just how I've been wired my entire life. And so for social media like this, even though it's just the two of us in the basement, I do know that there are people watching, enjoying this, and I can't just sit here going,
hey, welcome to our podcast.
Hey, catch that preview online?
Yeah, that new trailer looks really good.
Yeah, but it's going to blow.
Yeah. You gotta have that. But the thing is, another little side spin-off idea off of that is that maybe you're looking to not get a huge a huge community to build or something, you just want to find people with similar interests and stuff, you can adjust your scale to what you want to do. Like I said earlier, when you advertise on Facebook, you can advertise to 10,000 people if you want to put the money in there, but you got to back it up with, like James saying, is the ability to communicate to that many people. But if you just want to build some small communities, you can do that. And another thing about, like, social, I'll use Facebook again for social marketing. You can use the groups that are on there. Find the groups with the people who already would be interested in the type of content you want to do, and share it with those groups. And those groups, that's how you'll get a lot of people like, oh yeah, I love this kind of thing. I love games too. I love comics. I love this. And then you can use the platform of social media to do that.
Yeah,
so.
Know what your message is. Know what you want that message to be. Find other people and give them that message and let them respond. Okay? And if you do that, you'll get what you want out of it by how much you put into it. I have a certain amount of time and energy that I can put into this, and I have a realistic expectation of what I expect back out of it. Anything above that is gravy, okay? So just keep that in mind when you're looking at social media and doing that kind of marketing. And if you're someone who's brave enough and you want to be on the show, all you have to do is ask me. And, we'll talk at some point. We'll see if we can get you on the show. But understand that this is a little nerve-wracking the first time. I mean, the first time I was on this show, I think my right leg did not stop shaking.
No, yeah, because you're just like, here we go.
Yeah, exactly. I want to take over the world.
Get him!
All right, so next thing we're going to talk about, and I've seen a couple people that have jumped in here, and I'm sure this is where a lot of people are going to want to comment, because this is something that if you've been in the video game community, the comic book community, the Magic the Gathering community,
the
music community, which we'll talk about that, resellers. Oh no,
that's a bad word, isn't it?
Oh no, resellers, those dirty resellers. How dare they? They're scum. Except for Jason Wells. Jason Wells,
good guy.
You're a good guy.
I see it there. Speaking of little plug, Jason, that scumbag reseller has sold me plenty of PlayStation games towards my goal.
There's like 5 Zelda games back here from him alone.
So, just saying, started off, yeah.
Hold on. Thank you, Jason. Thank you. So, anyways, no, but, okay, all kidding aside, resellers does have, like, a negative connotation with it. Now, for most people, when they hear the term reseller, what they think about is they see a shady guy who goes to the store at 6 a.m. when they open up, buys as much as they are legally allowed to buy by the company policy, and then they go and they pop it on eBay or they pop it on Amazon for much, much more than what the retail value is. And you hear this large outcry about, I wanted that NES Classic. I wasn't going to resell it. And, you get this this stigma. From my experience, and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I want to hear your opinion first,
then
I'll correct you.
Yeah, there you go. But from my experience, resellers, first of all, there's not that many out there. And the ones that do don't last long. And the reason is because to do something along those lines as a sole enterprise to try and make money is not going to be fruitful enough that you can leave your job and do anything along those lines. The people that do well, that end up making a living at it, can do it full time. I was fortunate enough for 4 years to do it full time. Those are the people that take a vested interest into what the market is, how the market's doing, have an interest in knowing and playing and experiencing the world around them, and want to be a part of the world. They don't just want to swoop in, take all your money, and walk away. The ones that want to do that do not last long. They're in for a while, and then they go on to something else, the next fad. Your Black Friday sellers that go to the store and buy what is on special for the Black Friday sale and then go and resell them for a couple $100, so they have Christmas money. Those are people that unfortunately had nowhere to be on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So they don't really touch my life that much. I did have a few people when I ran my store that would come in and they'd be like, oh, I got something great today. And I can tell you right now, those definitely have the term reseller. Technically, some of them are great guys, and I would talk up about them to the ends of the earth because you put food on my table. But there were some that are like, they didn't understand what they had. They didn't understand what they did. They just thought they got a good deal. Half the time they didn't. So by the end of the day, they were breaking even. Mm-hmm. So when I think of resellers, I would not term, like, Jason, just because you're here, I'm just going to use you. I would not term Jason a reseller. Okay? Has he gone to Walmart and bought games and then sold them to the masses? Yes, but he...
Absolutely not.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, but he brings them to the masses.
Yeah.
He's developed a customer base. He is a collector.
Yep.
He is someone that has that. There are other people, like River City Retro, another company locally, where not only is he someone who's been successful at it for years without ever having a physical storefront, but he's been able to increase his collection as well too, and he has some really cool stuff.
Well, what's cool is like as you get to know more people who are resellers, you realize that they will find out you're looking for something and go, hey, I have this game you were looking for. So, like, it's not like they're cutting into, they're getting the games that I could have found. Technically, yeah, they're out there, but you know what? They're paying the gas money. They're taking their time. They're the ones getting up early and waiting in line. And when they pass along what they got, then you really can't complain. Now, I get it. It's frustrating when you see something that sells for $60, NES Classic, sell for $200 plus. But I think the anger and the hate is kind of being misdirected. You have to think about it like this. There are people out there that are buying it at the exorbitant price. That's where I think the anger should be directed. Because if they weren't buying it, the resellers wouldn't be able to do this as much, but they know. I mean, this is a byproduct of a free market. If any one of us could do that. So a lot of times you got to think, why wouldn't you try? And now look, I've crossed over to the dark side. I've resold some stuff. I remember I was at the store and I was like, hey, that's that limited edition figure that sells for like $50 on eBay. It's only $5. You know what I mean? And you make money that way. And it's like, so you can't fault people who want to take advantage of that open opportunity to make their living, But if the ones that survive, like James was talking about, they're the ones who will pass on the deals to you and say, hey, I saw you were looking for this, I found this. So it's all about, like I said, if you want to get mad at anybody, you got to get mad at the people that are willing to throw the cash at the exorbitant prices. Because what I do is when I see the scalped prices, I go, yeah, right, I'm not paying that. That if everybody did that, there wouldn't be resellers that were angering everybody. You know what I mean? It's the fact that people will buy. So that's kind of another perspective I think you got to keep in mind.
Yeah, no, that is the perspective. It's like, okay, well, these guys got the NES. I mean, the Classic Edition is just the latest craze. The NES Classic Edition. That came out, and Nintendo, for all intents and purposes, probably did not make enough. Now, that seems to be a common problem. Like, I mean, the Nintendo Switch is sold out right now. But with the NES Classic Edition, if you don't want to wait until you happen to be at a store for like the 5 they get that month, then unfortunately you have to go to the free market. Now, when it first came out, they were selling for $450, $500 because they were getting these parents that wanted to make sure that the kid, that's the one thing their kid wanted, and they have disposable income, they want to make sure it's under the Christmas tree. Now, if you look, they're hovering around 180, 200, 160. And the funny part is like you get these guys who go to the store that, the term reseller again. These are people that went to Walmart for something else. Maybe they went there to get tires or food or, underwear, something.
Toblerone.
11 peaks. 11 peaks of chocolate. Oh, also, just so you know I'm really loving Toblerone. Don't get me Toblerone as a present for a while. I need a break.
He's Tobleroned out.
I need a break. I need a break. Everyone out there, I need a break. All right, but anyways, so like that was the one thing, and so they go there, they see that the NES Classic is going onto the shelf, and they go, "Oh, I can make a profit," just like you said with the $5 figure, and then they go and they put it out there, but because they're not known in the communities, because they're putting it on the wrong pages, because the craze has started to die down, it sits forever, and by the end of the day, they might end up making 80 to 100 because they just want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And it's the people that know who to contact, know who to do. Say, hey, I can get you one, but I need 180 for it.
Yeah,
you're gonna get
it. And I get it. It is frustrating as a collector. Even though I'm not collecting as heavily now, when I was collecting, it was annoying to know that that thing I want to get it's so hard. It's that much harder to get. But again, I'm going back to it. The people are paying those prices, and you're right. You mentioned parents. That's a lot of things. They don't want to upset their kid, but at the same time, those are the people that I kind of feel. Those are the people I feel are the biggest victim to this. They don't know about the community. They don't know about the resellers. Resellers is a term for us in the collecting community. They're like, wait, what? Like they don't even understand. And like I had a friend who, her kids and her wanted to get an NES Mini. And she was asking me, and I'm like, you're going to have to wait out in line for one. And she was like, really? And then she waited, didn't get one. And the guy who ended up getting first in line, he ended up selling them right there on the spot. And he was talking about it to people, and he didn't even make that much money off it. So I could see why it's frustrating people. I get it. It's just like scalping tickets. That's another thing.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, if you guys have been watching the news, this is a little off nerd topic, but it has a lot to do with resellers. Eric Church, who's a country singer. I don't know that much about him, so please, if you are a country fan, don't be like, Eric Church in the comments, because I'm not going to have anything to say other than this one little...
Other than he sucks. No.
I've never listened to him. No, don't do that.
Just kidding.
There are plenty of country music stars that are good.
I just want to get the comments drummed up a little bit.
Yeah, he stinks. Oh my God, Eric Church. I hope no one's going to his shows.
I know.
But anyways, Eric Church recently put a bunch of tickets out for sale. Now, for those of you who want to go to a sports show, that want to go to a concert, that want to go to Video Games Live or Symphony of the Goddess, Legend of Zelda, which I've been to both, and they're awesome. Sometimes when the tickets sell out, you can go to StubHub and you free market, you get these people that will buy these tickets just to resell them, and knowing that they're going to sell out. And so Eric Church realized that 25,000 of his tickets ended up on StubHub an hour after they went for sale, and they were selling them for 2-3 times the sticker price. So he actually hired people to find these people who were using fake credit cards to buy these tickets and canceled 25,000 tickets. So these people are out whatever they thought they were going to make. The ones that actually had real credit cards have to go through the chargeback process, and if you've ever done that, it's not fun. And he put those 25,000 back up for sale, and he's sending them a clear message. You're not going to make money off me. These tickets are for my fans. And he refuses to increase the price of them.
Yep.
So that way they don't sell it quickly. It's just a matter of who gets to them first. Because he says, I didn't get to where I was by having tickets that are $200, $300, $400. I got to where I was for the fans who can spend $60 to go to my, to get front row seats. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So I mean, like, reseller is a pretty broad term.
Yeah.
I think it definitely gets too much of a negative connotation, especially if you go on like Facebook groups for the gaming community and stuff. Like, you hear it like it's a poison or something. But if you actually know people who are resellers, they're basically just stores that hunt down their own inventory and don't have a brick and mortar store. That's really what they are. Mm-hmm. They are a store. And if you think of like the distribution from Nintendo and stuff, like Nintendo knows that they have to be careful with how much they make. They know they're going to sell a lot, but they also don't want to have the situation that like companies like what was it, like was it Activision? Who put on Rock Band? Was it Activision?
Yes, that was Activision. Yeah.
Remember all the Rock Bands and Band Heroes and all those that those companies had out in stores forever. Like, you don't see that with Nintendo products. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's annoying when they don't put out a lot of supply, but they're a very careful company. If you haven't noticed that by now, that's what That's the thing about them. They're very calculated.
Yeah, the profitability is in the characters and the licenses that they own from the 1980s. That is their bread and butter. Anyone that tells you differently is not telling you the truth. So that's why Legend of Zelda has 7 years in between games. Yeah. But the reason is because they don't want there to ever be a problem with demand. Mm-hmm. You know, like you said with Rock Band Activision, I can tell you right now, when I first got into the reselling game, and I have no problem telling everyone, for a while I was a dirty reseller.
Dirty. I mean, he smells like onions right now. So
I smell like onions.
He's still dirty.
Yeah, I'm a dirty reseller. But what happened was it was born out of necessity. I had a job, and that job eventually changed how I was being paid, was not making enough to cover my bills, and stumbled into reselling. When I got into reselling, I realized that the things that I cared about the most were the ones that I was selling the most of, aka video games, nerd culture, Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering, books, just everything that my wife manifested out of me because into the man I am today. It's her fault. All her fault.
All her fault.
All her fault. But I got into the reselling gig, and for a while, I really didn't tell people who I was, what I was doing. I flew under the radar. I was going to garage sales, combing through, finding what would work, trying to work out a deal. And for me, I was trying to be a really nice guy. I was not telling people I was a dealer. If they asked me if I was a dealer, I would absolutely be upfront and honest and tell them I was. But if they didn't ask, then I would play it off that I was just an avid collector. And I played the role well because I am.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening is like overnight, I ended up getting a reputation of being a somewhat honest seller. Somewhat. I opened up a store. That's actually how I met Nate. I met him through my store. And it just kind of kept spawning from there, and it was a lot of fun. It was a roller coaster of 4 years that I absolutely loved. But at the time, I was doing what a lot of people were getting angry about. Like one of the most common things I see is, like, let's say Contra from NES. It's a $35 game. No matter when you buy it or what's going to happen. And it's probably going to go up because all the Nintendo games are going up. So it's probably going to be a $50 game. And what always makes me laugh is you have these people that go, "Oh, I can't find Contra for a decent price." So what you're telling me is the game is worth $35 to $50. You want to spend $5 on it. So what you're saying is you want to go and you want to hunt at these garage sales, and you want to find it for $5. Well, go ahead. No one's stopping you. But understand the work involved to do that. Mm-hmm. Understand what is invested. I mean, I don't know if a lot of people know that, but there's a gentleman out there named Casey Ciarusso. Is that his last name?
Yeah, I think so.
Ciarusso. Now, he's made a living while working buying and reselling video games. He probably has one of the largest collections.
He's one of the people I mentioned earlier who has a complete PS1. He has a complete Sega CD, complete Wii, which you know how many games are on the Wii?
Oh, yeah, there's
thousands, like 2,000.
Yeah, there's like 2.
He has a complete set, and I think he might have a complete Neo Geo or a near. I mean, I saw like a wall of cars.
Yeah.
And I was like,
but he's got a complete Sega Dreamcast now. Nintendo, Super Nintendo. I mean, he has stadium events.
Yeah. And he, I believe he posted online about how through the hobby and through the reselling, he was able to pay off his house.
Yeah.
And that, you can't be like, oh, this jerk paid off his house. Wouldn't you want to do whatever you could to pay off your mortgage if you could? You know, like that's...
It's the age-old tale. Do what you love.
Yeah.
And get paid
and
to do it.
And he does love games, you know? He's not
do what
some
you love
guy,
and get paid to
not
do
some
it.
old guy who doesn't know what they are and just is like, and isn't... Because, that's the thing you'll see, too, is the real scum resellers, I'll use the term, are the ones that don't, like you said, they don't last because they last and they're not making what they could. No. You know what I mean? They're just kind of like, what are you doing here? That's the kind that are really the problem. Everybody else, like I said, it's basically a mobile storefront. They're doing the work themselves.
It's time for us to go. So sorry. The show
Is it
is
Blue
over.
After 2 already? A Pappy Land reference. I haven't watched that since I was a
Blue
kid.
over 2?
No, Pappy Land. Pappy drew it. He used to say quarter to orange. It's quarter to orange after he got there, and it's blue after 2 because he had the painting, paintings on his clock. So it's Blue After 2. We have to end the episode.
I actually didn't know that. All right, so everyone, thank you very much for watching. For those of you who are going to go watch the SU Duke game, go SU. I am a big SU fan. I am going to check on the score. I am having a hard time with the season, but that's for another show.
Another discussion.
Another show. Anyways, Nate, thank you very much for coming
Awesome.
on.
Thanks for having me come on.
All right. Just like every other week, I have a Patreon. It is patreon.com, NATSTW. I've been practicing.
Good job.
Yeah, NATSTW. If you want to see more content, if you want to see the equipment upgraded, if you want me to start flying in guests from California, that's all going to be funded by the Patreon. It is absolutely to 100% the show. I am not taking any of the money for personal use unless, we get really big, but I don't expect that.
He had to pay me out of pocket to bring me here, so I mean, you got to help this guy out.
Spaghetti works wonders.
It does. I gotta say.
Yes. So anyways, thank you very much for watching this week. We'll be back next week. Next week, we're going to have Lila on. Someone I just met. She's going to come on. She's going to talk about Harry Potter. So if you're a Harry Potter fan, we're going to have a nice conversation about that. If you are a board gamer, we are going to talk about board games that we've played recently. And the conversation that will probably get the most comments, we're going to talk about misogyny in video games. Yeah. It exists. We're going to talk about that. We're gonna delve into it. We're gonna that's gonna be the meat of the show, if you will.
The meat and potatoes.
The meat of the show. So everyone, thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Everyone, good night. Thank you.